welcome to the Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy's podcast, Holistic Transformation. I'm your host, Dr. Beverly. This week I have a wonderful guest, an old friend of mine. Well, she's an old friend, but she's not old. Gotta watch how you say that. Christine Breese. She's been on my podcast before and at many of my summits, so you may know her. She is the founder of the Gaia Sagrada Retreat Center and the founder and owner of the UMS, University of Metaphysical Sciences. And I'm a graduate of that, and it's a great school. And welcome, Christine.
Thank you, and wonderful to be here with you, Dr. Beverly. You're amazing. I love you.
Thank you. Well, we thought we would have a discussion today about the pineal gland and Kundalini. I've had a couple of people ask me about both recently. One of my students actually had a Kundalini experience and she didn't know what happened to her. And a lot of people are going to be changing over this next couple of years because of the energy shifts. And the pineal gland gets all clogged up. People have fluoridated water and they shower in fluoridated water. They drink fluoridated water. They use fluoridated toothpaste. They go to the dentist fluorides your teeth. And all of that's really bad. So what do you want to talk about with that, Christine?
Oh, having a calcified pineal gland blocks a lot of the spiritual experiences that people are looking for. It's difficult to visualize and have visuals when you have a calcified pineal gland. Here at Gaia Sagrada Retreat Center, we have ayahuasca retreats, and some people can drink 1 cup of medicine and have these amazing, beautiful visuals and experiences and these connections and aha realizations, whereas others could drink 5 cups of the medicine and not have anything, any kind of experience. And it's usually because they have a calcified pineal gland. Because usually when we ask them, well, do you drink a lot of fluoridated water? Do you use fluoridated toothpaste? Are you around a lot of EMF waves like Wi-Fi and things like that? Do you turn your Wi-Fi off at night when you're sleeping? And a lot of times the evidence is that their pineal gland is calcified. Fortunately, if they come for a 12-day retreat, fortunately the medicines chip away at the calcification. The shamanic medicines will decalcify the pineal gland, and by the end of the retreat, they're starting to have experiences. But if a person can decalcify their pineal gland before they come, that will make it more potent of an experience as far as the visuals go and the ability to go deep within themselves. And one of the best ways to decalcify the pineal gland that we've discovered is cilantro. Sorry, that's the Spanish version of that. Cilantro juice. If you juice cilantro, that can really decalcify your pineal gland really quickly. So that's one tip. You probably know more about decalcifying the pineal gland than I do, but that's one of the results of calcification is the blockage of the inner experiences and the visuals in our meditations, for instance.
Yeah, I tell people to drink distilled water. So I only drink distilled water, and that cleans everything out, because it's not just the pineal gland that gets calcified. It's just we know the effect when it's calcified, but it actually affects all your glands and organs and kidneys. And this there's a lot of people who say, well, you need electrolytes. So add electrolytes to your water. I mean, if I feel like I'm getting dehydrated, I'll add a little Himalayan salt to my water, just, like an eighth of a scoop in a big bottle. It doesn't take much. Or you salt your food. So I've been doing this for years and I don't have an electrolyte problem, but I only drink distilled water. And with the cilantro, I would suggest adding a little bit of fresh lemon, some squeezed lemon into it. And that helps to, both the cilantro and the lemon help to cleanse the liver. And one of the
Yes.
reasons everything gets clogged up is the liver's clogged up, and the liver is what cleans your blood. So if your liver's clogged, the blood doesn't get cleaned out, and then everything gets clogged up because the liver's clogged. So
Right.
cilantro and lemon and the distilled water is what will really clean you out pretty quickly.
I found that one of the signals when I don't have enough minerals as well is when there's a calcification. It sounds counterintuitive, but a lack of minerals will actually be a big culprit for not working correctly, pineal gland. And one of the signals that I know my minerals are too low is I start getting restless leg syndrome. And as
Mm,
soon as I take minerals, it goes away, especially trace minerals like the fulvic minerals.
mhm,
Um, and then I also get better visuals in my meditations when I have a lot of
mhm,
my minerals are the correct levels. Sometimes I'll get a blood test to see where my minerals are at, and every single time when I start getting the restless leg syndrome or I have a little bit of trembling in my fingers or something, like you hold your hand and if your fingers tremble a little bit, it's a mineral issue.
mhm.
So that's one of the ways to know if maybe your mineral levels are too low, which then affects your pineal gland. How would
Yeah,
you
if you
say
have
what's your suggestions on getting more minerals?
Well, if you live in an area like I do with really, really hard water, you're getting too much calcium, and it takes up the same receptor on your cells as some of your other minerals. So when you drink the hard water, it's also clogging up your cells, so you don't even absorb those other minerals. And a lot of times, RLS, restless leg syndrome, is caused by magnesium deficiency. And
Yes,
so I
magnesium.
have a spray. It's called magnesium oil. You can get it on Amazon, and you just spray it. I spray it on my thighs and rub it in, but they on the bottle it says spray it on the bottoms of your feet. So you want to spray it on the legs somewhere or the feet, and you can do that once or twice a day, and that gives you more magnesium. I don't like to take pills, so I like to either get it from food or essential oils or something like that. So that's how I get my magnesium. A lot of people today can be deficient in trace metals of copper, so you can buy copper in a bottle, and maybe once a month or so, I'll take a little bit of the copper elixir. Um, you can also take a thing called bioplasma. It's called a bile salt, and that particular bile salt, it's a type of homeopathy, has it brings in all of the trace minerals that you need. It just pulls it right out because everything is in the food. And is your body absorbing it and that bioplasma? So for many years, that's what I took was bioplasma. But now with the food I eat with my diet, I don't even need to take that. I had to completely change how I eat.
What's your
Eating
diet now? A lot of
Well,
vegetables?
no, I'm actually I'm doing a very strict 90-day paleo diet. And I'm even removing all dairy. A lot of paleo people eat a lot of dairy. And I'm actually, I started working on my liver. I lost 10 pounds just by not eating dairy.
No, you look
And
thinner. It shows in your face too. Yeah.
really, yeah, no,
Yeah. I
I've
was gonna
lost
say
some
that on
weight,
there,
but
not
I
to
need to lose
tell
a
you.
lot more.
I
But
know, me too. Right? We
So
always
I was
do.
on keto for a long time, and I do intermittent fasting, and fasting really, really helps. But I found with the keto, I was still had cravings that I shouldn't have. And so I thought, okay, when you go on the paleo, you do like a 90-day challenge. Supposedly that will get rid of your cravings, but you have to be very strict. Now, some paleo people say you can't have any vegetables because you want to get the carbs as low as possible. And I've been like I have garlic and onions and green vegetables, a salad, things like that. But those are carbs. And if you, I'm not diabetic, but I want to make sure I don't become diabetic. So that's one of the
Right.
reasons why I'm doing this. And they have found through research that if you're eating, grass-fed free-range beef, which is all I only eat grass-fed free-range organic meats. So I don't just eat, well, I shouldn't say that because I also eat fresh cod and fresh caught salmon, and I eat chicken. I don't eat a lot of pork. Um,
Mhm.
and I can't get lamb. I used to really like lamb, but if I can get it, and sometimes I'll have like Cornish game hens. But it's all meat, and I eat eggs. So now I'm just going to go on a diet where I'm only eating the meat. And when I did that before, I found that in order to feel full, I had to eat too much meat and the calories were too high. If I eat a pound of hamburger, which will fill me up, that's too many calories.
Right.
And if I eat half, I need to have something with it to feel full. Well, in my research, I discovered I wasn't eating enough fat, and it has to be the right kind of fat. So it can't be coconut oil. It needs to be butter, uh, ghee, which is processed butter where they boil away the water. It can be tallow, which is beef rendered down, or it can be bacon fat. So it needs to be very high density fat. And so I've been watching people cook paleo. That's how I discovered listening to the lectures on paleo, because I mostly focused on keto. And I followed Dr. Berg. I have his book, and I followed his diet, and I lost a lot of weight doing that, but I've plateaued and I'm stuck and I'm not moving. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try the paleo. And that's when I found out the reason I didn't do well is because I didn't have enough of the right fats. And I was using coconut oil and things like that. And you cannot use any kind of fat like that. Now, if you're on keto, coconut oil is fine. But on the paleo, on the strict paleo, and this is what's called the beginner's paleo. There's more advanced paleo, but when you're doing the beginner's paleo, you do this 90-day thing, and it has to be the right fats and only the meats. And so today I had 4 eggs with about 3 times as much butter as I usually use when I cook eggs. I even, after I cook the eggs and put them on the plate, I put a little pat of butter on top of each egg.
That sounds
And
delicious.
it was delicious, and I'm full. I mean, that's all I
Uh,
ate today, and I'm not hungry. And so that's what I was doing wrong. I was not eating the right amount of fat. Well, when you eat that much fat, you cannot have carbs, because
right.
if you eat the carbs, your body is not going to burn the fat. So you have to get into pure fat burning. So that's another way to, and people say, well, that's going to damage the kidneys. No, research shows it will not damage your kidneys. Just like there's a rumor that distilled water damages the kidneys. No, it doesn't. You can look at, okay, I do face reading. It's something I teach people. When you look underneath the eyes here, if they have a dark line going across or they have bags under the eyes, you have kidney issues. I don't have any of that. You don't need a blood test. Okay. They
Right.
measure you. I think it's the carotid in your urine for a kidney test. You don't even need to do that. I can feel my pulses, I have lots of ways of checking without doing a blood test. So um, years of being on distilled water and being on keto, where I was eating high protein meals, has not damaged me. In fact, I have more energy. I feel better. I'm looking better. Um, so, how shiny is your hair? My hair is shiny. So, look at your nails. My nails are good. I have good color. You squeeze your nail and you let go, and you should have color back within a couple seconds. So you can do that on test yourself, and you should have little moons on each nail. I also look at people's nails. I tell people, don't put pale polish on your nails. Look at your nails, because you can tell how healthy you are by what your nails look like, what your hands look
Right.
like. So,
I
how did we get
I've
on
heard
that?
I've heard a lot about this diet. Well, because we were talking about decalcifying the pineal gland, but
Oh,
I've heard a lot about this diet. But what would you say for vegetarians who are trying to follow this path as well with the diet?
okay.
Because there's a lot of vegetarians who are not going to want. Me being one of them, I'm not going to want to eat meat so much.
Well,
So,
there's
what could vegetarians do to get the same effects?
there's
I know
people
that eggs
who
are the vegetarian's meat. I do eat eggs.
okay. Well, I was going to say vegans are the most unhealthy people there are. I don't care how skinny they are. One of my patients kept coming to me for 10 years. I kept saying, "You're protein deficient. You need to stop." After 10 years, she's older than me. She developed dementia. You have got to have the right fats and enough protein to be healthy, and you need certain vitamins, and you're not going to get them all from plants.
Your brain needs fat. Your
Your
brain
brain
actually,
needs fat. Your nervous system needs fat. All your sheaths, if you look at a wire, a
especially
copper
the three,
wire,
six, and
electrical wire,
nine.
it has a sheath around it. Well, fat is the sheath around the wires in your body. The
Yeah, I'm trying to eat more
vegetarians,
fat now myself because I'm like,
if you can
oh
be a
gosh, I got to take care of my
vegetarian,
brain.
you
Yes, I'm
need
a
animal
vegetarian.
protein. You
I
absolutely
do,
need animal protein.
I do
And
eat dairy.
the vegetarians I know that are healthy eat eggs, fish, or chicken. So a lot of people like that are typically blood type A. Now I know blood type A's that need beef. They can't do the lighter meats. I do medical astrology. It'll be in your astrology chart. If you do a DNA test, it will be in your DNA. Like I've had my DNA done. I tend to be vitamin B deficient and not vitamin D. I've had patients who can be vitamin D deficient and not vitamin B, and I've had patients that could be deficient in both. So people like that need to supplement. So people who tend to be vitamin B deficient need beef in their diet. People who don't tend to be vitamin B deficient don't need to necessarily be a heavy meat eater. They can get by with the lighter meats, the eggs and things like that. So it just depends on your body, and you can't say everybody should go on this diet because everybody's body is different. We have different blood types, different DNA. Okay, we're all human. We kind of look alike. We all speak some kind of language, but one diet doesn't fit everybody. And one of the most important things people can do is eat local foods in season. So one of the things we do, especially in the United States, is we import food from all over the world, even out of season. You can get strawberries year round. You can get oranges year round. Um, should you be eating those out of season? And the answer is no, because where your food is grown, the minerals in the soil there are what you need for that locale. So growing
Interesting.
your own food is one of the best ways to stay healthy. Um, and drinking the water, drinking bottled water is really bad for you because it comes in plastic bottles. And the
Exactly.
plastic bottles leak toxins and phthalates and carcinogens and all kinds of crap into the water, especially when it's hot. And they don't ship them refrigerated. It shit in Arizona, it could be, in the summer, 120 outside.
That's
And they
correct.
leave the water bottles in cases outside the store. It's in the shade, but it's still hot. All that crap is leaking into the water.
Yeah, the
So,
heat actually speeds up the leaching.
yeah, yeah. So, to try and be healthy, another thing everybody does is drink coffee. I haven't drunk coffee since I was 21. I quit when I was very young.
I
Coffee
have to
is
admit,
very
I still like
toxic.
coffee.
And if you go on the pure paleo diet, no coffee. Now, one of the things I hear with people
What
that say,
about,
"Oh,
let me, can I ask you a question?
yeah,
If you just drink coffee once in a while as a treat, do you think maybe
here's
that's,
here's how you drink coffee."
Because I
You
don't drink
buy
it every day, just as a
you
treat.
buy water processed decaffeinated, not chemical processed. It needs to be water processed, and it needs to be organic, and it needs to be free trade so that the pickers got a free, you know, good salary for picking. If it's not free trade, they don't pay the pickers. And then you water press it. So you can get a cold water press. Did you freeze? I think Christine's frozen. I don't know if you can hear me.
I
There you
didn't
are.
for a moment. You froze for a moment, but you're back.
Okay. Well, you
It
can get
says my internet.
mine. It only costs a few dollars because I have people that visit me that like coffee. So I'll cold press it. So you put a pound of coffee in the thing, and it's got a special filter on the bottom with a plug. You fill it up with cold water, and then I put a plate over the top, and then you let it sit overnight.
It's my
Then the
favorite
next
coffee.
day, you pull a plug, and the liquid, which is the coffee, drains out into a jar, and you
It's
store
called
that in the
cold
refrigerator,
pressed.
cold press. Then when you want a cup of coffee, you put it in the cup and you warm it up. And then if you want to add, like adding a bit of butter or whipping cream is really wonderful. It fills you up if you're hungry. And so then you can have the coffee, but when you cook the coffee grounds with hot water, all the toxins go into the coffee.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the cold pressed coffee. And I do it that way. I don't drink it enough to really do it that often. I just get one sometimes when I'm out. But and that's the hot processed coffee, which gets all the tannins.
It still
But
has caffeine.
yeah, and the most elevated experience I've ever had, and I don't get the jangles, the jitters when it's cold pressed. I learned that a long time ago, and I did that quite a few times where I did the cold pressed. You basically put the whole half a pound or the pound in a ceramic bowl, and then you let the water sit on it for like 20 hours for anybody who wants to know how to make it. And then I would drain all the liquid off. And what I do is I'd have a shot glass size, like a 2 ounce shot glass, and I would take a 2 ounce shot glass size and put it in the hot water in the morning with the. I just make the hot water, and then put the shot glass worth of coffee into
Well,
the.
you're making it stronger. Yeah. I don't let
Yeah,
it sit that long, so then
I
I
do
don't have
kind
to
of like it
dilute it.
strong.
Yeah.
Oh, it's black. I mean, it's thick. I mean, it's black. You can't see through
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I guess I do kind of like it strong.
Yeah.
But would you say that coffee calcifies the pineal gland? Because I find that when I drink more coffee, my dreams aren't as good. I don't have as much technicolor. I don't have as my
Don't know
meditations
that
start
it's the
lacking.
coffee, but the caffeine. And
Right,
there's two schools of thought with caffeine because a lot of people who are spiritual say have some chocolate, and other people say if you're spiritual, do not have chocolate because it interferes with your connection to source. So I don't do caffeine, although I do occasionally do chocolate, but it's more like, oh, it's Christmas or, it's some holiday and you're with friends. I'm not going to
right,
deny myself a piece of chocolate on a holiday.
right.
But I don't buy chocolate otherwise. Um, although
Even
one of
if
the
the
ways,
chocolate is pure,
pardon?
or even if the chocolate is 100% pure.
Well, when I do eat chocolate, I will buy 100% cocoa and then I will make something myself out of it so that I know everything that's in it. And like I want to make sure the milk is from, I only use cream. I use heavy whipping cream and it has to be made from grass-fed, free-range cows, no antibiotics, no whatever. So I make it myself. I have a double
Hmm.
boiler and I'll melt the chocolate and I'll add the whipping cream and maybe a little vanilla. And then I'll make my
Hmm.
own little truffles, which my friends say are absolutely delicious. But I don't eat them
I
all the
wish I was
time.
there to have one.
Yeah, they're good truffles. Um, but they don't have a hard chocolate around the outside. It's like the inside, the soft inside of a truffle. That's what they're like.
Mm,
So I
nice.
just make them myself, but I don't do that all the time. That's like a special occasion kind of thing. and I buy the raw chocolate that's 100% cocoa. Where I get that at the um organic grocery store. I kept wanting to say Whole Food grocery store, and that would get mixed up with Whole Foods, and
Right,
I couldn't get the
right. You don't want to
organic
do that.
out.
Well,
So
going
does
back to the,
caffeine clog the pineal gland? Let me ask. Yes, I got yes.
okay.
So yeah, I
Yeah,
have
I
an
was going to say
internal
going back to the
pendulum.
pineal gland. Thank you for that. Yeah. Oh,
But you
well,
know what?
fortunately, I don't do
I
it too
don't think
much, but
I don't think anybody should 100% deny themselves all the time. You know, you go to a friend's house that you haven't seen in
yeah,
a year and you want to do one thing. It's not the end of the world. Just say, okay, I always bless my food and say, let anything that's not good for me just pass through. And
right.
there's
Well, and
there's
there's
ways
such
to deal with it.
and there's such a social thing to coffee and chocolate, and so, and I think we get a lot out of the social parts of it. I mean, when I'm having a cup of coffee, when I'm out, I'm usually hanging out with a friend and we're talking about really cool stuff.
Mhm, mhm.
So, and that feeds my soul.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, and I may have some chocolate when I'm out. I don't keep it in the house because I do not have the
Yeah, I
willpower.
don't either.
But when I'm out, it's a social thing with a friend usually, and that does feed our soul. And
Yeah,
I think that there's an energetic aspect to the pineal gland decalcification, not just a physical aspect. The energy of being happy and the energy of being open and the energy of feeding your soul and nourishing your soul. So maybe we can counteract some of the physical effects with the energy of it, of of what's around it. Like,
keep in mind
okay, I'm having
also
this
that,
cup of coffee with caffeine right now, but I'm feeding my soul with the beauty and company of my friend. So
and
who loves
the
coffee?
pineal gland being calcified takes years. And when you're young, it's not calcified. It's decades sometimes before it gets
Interesting.
calcified.
Hmm.
So it's never too late to start decalcifying, and it's going to be a process. It won't happen overnight.
How long does it take to decalcify a pineal gland, do you think?
I think it depends on your diet, your lifestyle, and ask. It's amazing what can happen when you say connect to whatever you believe in up there, God, source, divine. Um, uh, uh, okay, I'm going blank. What's wrong? Anyway, connect to whatever your higher self is, whatever word you want to call that. I usually say source, great spirit, whatever you believe in, and ask for help. What do I need? How do I do this? What's the best way to do it? And then you've heard some guidance from Christine and I today, and you may get different vitamins advice. So I don't think there's one way. Like, I had cancer, I did a shamanic journey, and it was gone. I mean, it went, I had a thing on my breast and it was pink, and the doctor said, you have this kind of cancer. And I did my journey and it turned orange. When I went back, he says, I don't understand. Your cancer is going away. I mean, who's ever heard of that?
Miracle holder.
So I believe in miracles. Miracles happen to me all the time.
Me
So,
too.
if you're not supposed to die, you're not going to die. Ask for help and you'll get it. If your pineal gland needs to be undone, you didn't know any better, forgive yourself, ask for help, see what happens. So I think it depends. If you know what you need to do and you don't do it, it's going to take a long time, maybe
Key
never.
factor. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I've had patients come in and I say, you need to do. I had one patient, it was before he wasn't a patient, he was a client. It was before I got licensed. And it was when I was in California, and I had a pyramid that I would put people in on a massage table. And this guy kept having brain tumors. And he was in a special home because he'd killed his father. And he comes in and he's rough and angry and he doesn't want to talk to me. And I says, would you like a healing? Yes. Can you lay on the table? Yes. Okay. And I put some music on him and I did some etheric weaver and energy work. When he got up, he said he was a different person. And he said, oh, I killed my father. I'm so sorry. I mean, he was literally a different person. And he had an attached entity, and the work I did removed the entity. And when he went in for surgery to remove his brain tumor, it was gone.
Interesting.
Sometimes these entities create disease, and when you get rid of the
Mhm.
entity, it takes whatever with it. So I don't say there's only one way. There's many ways, many time frames. It just depends on what's going on.
So,
Some people, like you, didn't heal spontaneously. It took a lot of work for you when you got cancer. And I think for me, I laid down crying and said, I will not get chemo. I will not go. If you don't fix it, I'm going to die. And so they fixed it. Well, they didn't
right,
want me to
right,
die. So
right.
it just depends on the emotions you put into it, your intention, what your life path is, what lessons you need to learn. There's no one answer.
Well, then I wonder if energetically, if an energy adjustment can remove a brain tumor, then maybe it can even decalcify the pineal gland spontaneously.
Well, in the case of the brain tumor, it was the attached entity. And I've seen other cases where people had a neck ache or a whatever. It was either from a past life experience or an entity, or sometimes you can get, what do they call them? Oh God, what do you call the little things that are around? They don't,
Hamlins,
no, not gremlins. Anyway,
mosquitoes.
I don't know what, I must be running out of energy because I can't think of the words I want to use. Um,
uh,
anyway,
happens to me too.
it, they're little tiny energy things. They come, um, King Solomon used to bring them down, and you could
Sprites.
manipulate the environment using them.
Mhm.
Elementals.
Ah,
So
yes, okay.
um, I once manipulated elementals, and then later that day I meditated, and I got told on no uncertain terms that I was ever to, and they showed me the damage I did by manipulating the elements. And then I've studied with two living Buddhas, and the second one said never manipulate the elementals. And that's what led to King Solomon going down the dark path, because he started bringing in demons and other things as well. So elementals do
I
not
didn't know that.
a right and
I,
wrong.
yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't know
that's
that
what
about
his
that
seal, his
history.
ring. They call his ring the seal. And that's how he would send them back and seal them back, because they're in the lower astral plane. And so demons can only come into your life when invited. And one of the ways you invite them is drinking alcohol or getting angry or living in filth. Um, you know,
And I don't call alcohol spirits for nothing.
yeah. And you can get attachments. You can get elemental attachments and you can get demon attachments. And
Do you think that attachments could be connected to calcification of the pineal gland sometimes?
I think anything can be attached to anything. I mean, you never know what they're going to do. Um, I think blockages. So one of the things that I like about acupuncture is it clears a lot of blockages, and we have a lot of
Mhm.
channels in the body. So we develop a lot of blockages. And I actually, they talk about your pulse, you can feel your pulse. Well, you also have these acupuncture channels, and some of them are not blood vessels. They could be a nerve has a blockage, or it could
Mhm.
be some of the channels that are internal are along embryonic folds. So if you look at how an embryo is folded, it's a ball, then it's hollow, then it's flat, and then it's a tube, and so it does these folds. And some of those folds are actually along the internal acupuncture channels. Most people are familiar with the external channels, but there's extraordinary channels that are internal. And so you can get a block in one of those channels. And so sometimes when I'm looking at a patient, I'll go, the channel has a pulse. So I'll see a pull and it's either empty, full, or I'll see it vibrating and I'll know, oh, they've got a blockage. So I need to go clear the blockage so that it flows smoothly. So one of the things that happens when you meditate is you start clearing those blockages. So that's another thing that can clog something up. So it got, you know, whatever sent there. It could be starts with an F. What are we talking about? F.
Pineal gland,
Fluoride. So it
fluoride.
so I don't know what's wrong with my
I,
brain today. So you might have
well, it is
fluoride
late in
there.
the day, so don't
And
worry.
then more fluid, more blood or whatever would flow there and flush it out. But because of a blockage, it doesn't flush it out. So you clear the blockage, and all of a sudden, the fluid, like if you go for a chiropractic treatment and you've got some blockages in your spine and then they let it go, all of a sudden the CSF flows up to your head and you go, oh, and you
Right,
get kind of dizzy. Or
right.
sometimes you may have a blockage in your carotid arteries. And so
Mhm.
maybe you have a neck issue and they clear it, and all of a sudden the blood is flowing into the brain. Now, and you kind of go, oh, what was that? And that's because it was clogged up. And now you've got things flowing again. And so chiropractic medicine, I recommend to people, and acupuncture, as well as energy work, because all three of those will clear those blockages. So
Mhm.
that's another reason why people will do everything just right and they still can't clear it because they have a
Right.
block. Now, the
Hmm.
blockages can also be emotional and they
Hmm.
can be mental. They may not be physical, or you could have an adhesion. So the adhesion could be caused from a surgery or a scar or something, and it's created a blockage. So that's why acupuncturists do like cupping or massage. You can get a massage, and that'll clear some of those adhesions. That also blocks the flow because you have interstitial fluid underneath your skin between the muscles and the skin and around the bones. And if you get an adhesion, it's not moving. So the cells in that one area is not getting enough nutrients. And it can cause all kinds of problems all over the body, different pains, all kinds of things. So that's another tangent I just went off on, huh?
These tangents are so educational, though. I'm learning so much listening to you. I, you know, the calcification of the pineal gland is such a multifaceted subject. There's so many things that affect it. It's not just, okay, decalcification of the pineal gland. It sounds like there's a lot of adjustments that have to be made, not just that which happens to the pineal gland, in order to decalcify it. There's diet changes, there's energy changes, emotional changes, mental changes, and blockage changes. I mean, it sounds like because you could do everything right to decalcify the pineal gland, but if you have a blockage, as you were just explaining, it won't work. So
Well,
that's
that's why I tell people
your
meditate, meditate,
tangents are
meditate.
full of wisdom. What's that?
That's why I tell people meditate, meditate, meditate. Because the more you meditate, the easier it is to connect whatever you believe in, your higher source, your your guardian angel, whatever you believe, and ask. And if you can't get the message, it's gonna just show up.
Right.
Someone will walk up to you and out of the blue say something, and you go, "That's my question."
Yeah.
You
Or you
know,
hear the certain line on the radio in
yeah,
a song,
yeah.
or see a
Somehow the
title of a
answer
book
will
somewhere.
just show up. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just have to intend it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
a
I
strong
agree.
intention.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, Beverly, I've learned so much from you today. Thank you. And I think that the decalcification of pineal gland isn't a one-time deal. It's a lifestyle change, like
Mhm.
you said. And once I started turning my Wi-Fi off at night when I sleep, I had a much better situation with the pineal gland,
I
much more
also turn
connection.
off my phone. I leave my
Right.
phone. I'm in my office, so my phone is always in my office.
I leave
And
mine in my living room, and I don't turn it off, but I think I will now.
yeah, no, I turn it off at night. Um,
Mhm.
because and it's already known that if you sleep with your phone, near your head in your bed, you will get brain cancer.
Ah,
That's
good to
what
know.
killed Biden's oldest son, was brain
I
cancer.
mean,
So wearing a Bluetooth, you don't want to do that.
if you think about it, there's a line of energy coming from the satellites to your phone pretty much at all times.
Mhm.
The only thing that might be better is if you're on cell phone technology, which is just from cell towers. But if you're sleeping in the middle of the line between the cell towers and your phone, you're right in the direct line of the energy.
Mhm.
Um, but most phones are receiving satellite energy all the time now. And
Yeah,
it was
even when
interesting.
you're in airplane mode, they're tracking you.
Yes. And I remember I saw this scene in this movie one time that really struck it home for me, where this person suddenly got like this superpower or something, and they were able to see everybody walking around with their phones in their purse, or they were talking on them, or the phone was wherever on their body. They were walking around, and there was literally a line of light coming from the sky attached to every person who had a phone as they were walking by. I was like, and it was like thick with the lines of light connected from the satellite. And I was like, oh my gosh, that really is the way it is. And then I was, I was like, okay, I don't want to be attached like that to some weird energy in the sky from coming from a satellite.
Mm. Walk
So,
my
and
dog, don't take the phone.
I never talk on the phone like this. I always
Yeah,
put it
me
on speakerphone and hold the
speaker.
phone away from me. So, because that is actually a real pineal gland calcifier, is the Wi-Fi and the phone signals. So
You
keep
also
those
don't
things
want to
away from
hold it
you.
while you don't want to hold it while it's plugged in.
Right.
It's also make it worse. And
Hmm.
when I'm listening to something on my phone, if I've got a YouTube channel on or something, I prop it up. I don't hold it. I just,
Hmm.
the only time I hold it is if I'm talking on the phone, and then I'll put
Hmm.
it down so that you're not,
Hmm.
the further away you are from it. It's like people say, oh, microwaves are so bad. Stand 2 feet away from your microwave, and it's no worse than being near your phone.
Right.
It's when you stand really close to it that it's a problem. So you always want to stand
Right.
2 feet away.
They're better insulated than they used to be, but you
Yeah,
can't
that's
fully
true.
insulate that stuff.
Well, it's not good for cooking in because it doesn't get hot enough long enough to cook the food and kill the pathogens that might be in it. But
Well,
it
it
is
also
okay
kills
for
all the
reheating,
nutrients.
huh?
Hmm. It also kills all the nutrients. I only put things in the microwave that I'm not trying to get any nutrients out of, like hot water, or
Yeah.
maybe I might be reheating a cup of tea, but
I actually have
I won't
a
eat anything.
thing to boil my water. I don't reheat it in the microwave.
Yeah.
I make distilled water and then I put it in blue bottles and it sits. I usually they say you only need 1 hour in the sun. I'll leave it there for 48, 50, 60 hours. And then
Nice.
so it's called Ho'oponopono water. And
Hmm.
supposedly
I
you
like
only
that.
need a drop in your water. I just drink pure Ho'oponopono water.
Ah, nice. And you
Everything I
say a
do.
prayer, the Ho'oponopono prayer with it, with the water?
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have, you can say, I just bless it. I bless
Uh-huh.
everything. No, I just bless it. Yeah, I use the Ho'oponopono prayer for healing or when I have an issue I need to take care of. I love
Hmm.
you, I honor you, I appreciate you. Forgive me, thank you.
Hmm.
I learned that from Dan Millman back in the 90s before they started selling
Before it
Ho'oponopono.
became a big
Yeah,
thing, yeah.
big thing, yeah.
What's
I
the
find that.
what are the exact phrases with Ho'oponopono? I forgot.
Well, the one that I use is I love you, I honor you, I appreciate you. Please forgive me, thank you. Well, any closing comments on Kundalini or pineal or detoxing or meditation?
Oh, I learned so much from listening to you, and you know more about it than I do. I know a little bit about it, but and I've done a lot to decalcify my pineal gland with certain things that I've suggested during this
You
talk. But
suggested cilantro.
yeah, there's cilantro. I think the thing that helped me the most And there's also don't smoke pot.
Yeah,
Not
don't smoke
even
pot.
not even sometimes. I mean, not even sometimes worked. Once in a while didn't even work. Um, so but the thing that helped me the most, I think, was turning off the Wi-Fi and keeping the phone in the living room when I'm sleeping,
Yeah,
because that I think actually affects us more than we realize.
yeah, it
Uh,
does.
yeah, and also never holding your phone up to your head.
Yeah,
Always put it on speakerphone and talk from a distance. I just lay it on the table and talk with somebody.
and turn it off at night.
Yes,
I
and turn
figure
it
if
off
I'm
at night.
sleeping, I don't want to get up in the middle of the night to answer the phone.
Oh,
Now,
I
if you,
wouldn't answer the phone if it rang in the living room.
well, when I had a job and the phone rang in the middle of the night, I
Hmm.
had to answer it. So some people have to
Right.
answer the phone. That's different. So get a
Yeah, and you have
desktop
kids
phone.
or loved ones
Yeah,
overseas or something. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But if you're living alone and your kids are grown,
Turn that
it
baby off.
whatever it is, it will wait. Nothing
Right.
needs, you know, I've never wanted to answer the phone when I'm eating. And years ago, when my daughter lived at home with me, we would be eating dinner. The phone would ring and she'd go, "Are you going to answer that?" "No, I'm eating dinner." "Oh, you have to answer the phone." She'd get up and answer the phone. I don't do that. If I'm eating, I do not answer the phone. If I'm in
I
the
call it an
middle,
electronic leash. You don't
no,
have to be under control of the electronic leash. You can always see who called you and call them back.
yep. Well, back then we didn't even have caller ID.
I know, right? Right. Yeah.
You never knew who it was
Gosh,
that called.
remember those days?
And then
Before
we got
internet,
answering
before
machines.
smartphones. I mean, some people, I don't think they'd even know how to function if they didn't have that stuff now. I mean, who buys a paper roadmap anymore and reads it? I love the paper. I missed my Rand Road Atlas or whatever that was called. Oh my gosh, I missed that huge book of maps so much. I used to love to look at that.
I
And
still have maps.
I
You never
still find
know.
myself
Phone
with a
goes
map.
down.
I mean, I have to confess, when I've used the Google Maps directions, turn it on, start, and it's kind of nice when it guides you, okay, make a left at the next 300 feet, and you will be then going 2 blocks and then make a right. And it's always said in kind of like a sexy voice. and or it used to be with when they first started. And now I think you can get like some rapper telling you, "Look right, foe." But I mean, you could get some funny ones now. But anyway, I think that's part of decalcifying too, is just keeping your brain active instead of just being in, like, okay, let's turn on the maps thing for Google and my phone has the internet, so let's just go there that way. I mean, to actually read a roadmap and to actually use your brain to learn a new language, to learn a new skill, learn how to play an instrument, I think that also decalcifies your pineal gland as well, because it's part of the active brain network. I think that
Mhm.
keeping your brain learning new things, they say that prevents dementia, that prevents Alzheimer's. If you continually learn new things, and I think actually, since everything's connected, like you say, I think that could be connected to decalcification as well, is if you actually constantly have things flowing through there. Because
Yes.
to learn something new is sort of like pulling something out of the divine. To learn something new is also creative, because when you learn something new or use a skill like reading a map or reading a book, I think that, or learning a new language or learning a new instrument or learn something, anything, I think that that actually is pulling creative energy from the divine into yourself as well. And that takes pineal gland connection. So I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess that's my final word on decalcification of the pineal gland. Keep the brain active. Keep learning new stuff.
Work puzzles. Read a book.
Hmm. Read a map.
Read a
Get a
map.
paper map. Don't lose the ability to
Shark.
read a paper map.
Well, it's
Ah,
always a pleasure to talk to you, Christine. Thank you so much for being with us today.
you
And
too.
we thank all of you, and I'll put Christine's information down below. It is ums.edu. Is that your?
Oh, no, 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 no. Nothing with edu. Metaphysicuniversity.com and GaiaSagrada.com for the
Okay.
retreat center.
Metaphysicuniversity.com and GaiaSagrada.com. And I'll put those links down below so you can contact Christine if you need to.
Thank
And
you.
thank you so much for joining us. And if you would be so kind as to click the like button and subscribe and share this, it helps with the algorithm. So we get a little bit more activity and people that can share in this message. And thank you so much for joining us. And remember to be the light you want to see in the world.